You know how to build those incredibly complex, elegant systems, right? But do you actually know the behavioral architecture required to sell them? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're literally constructing a blueprint for mastering high-stakes technical influence.
Here's our blueprint for today. We're going to cover selling the technical vision, cultivating absolute conviction, engineering trust through documentation, navigating disagreements with grace, and finally, the architecture of status.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Selling the Technical Vision, the Blueprint for Survival.
So there's this deeply ingrained belief in the tech world, right? That brilliant code, perfectly optimized databases, and flawless architecture just speak for themselves. The logic usually goes, hey, if the design is objectively better, people will just naturally adopt it. But as sales expert Grant Cardone so bluntly points out, a person's ability to persuade another is the only thing that will ultimately ensure a position in the marketplace. Pure logic, yeah, it's just not enough.
You see, selling isn't just some extracurricular activity. It's a survival prerequisite. Whether you're pitching a massive cloud migration, defending your architecture in a totally ruthless hiring interview, or even just negotiating for more server resources, you are perpetually selling a vision. As an IT architect, your survival and your advancement in any corporate hierarchy depends completely on your ability to persuade stakeholders to invest in your blueprints.
Moving on to Section 2, cultivating absolute conviction, the core infrastructure.
Picture this. You walk into a grueling technical hiring screening. Well, those stakeholders are evaluating your presence way before you ever touch a keyboard. Social psychologist Amy Cuddy defines presence as the state of being attuned to and comfortably expressing our true thoughts, feelings, values, and potential. It's really not about faking competence, it's about an honest, powerful internal connection. When your posture, your voice, and your facial expressions perfectly align with your true expertise, wow, it creates this palpable harmony that just makes you undeniable.
And to apply that presence effectively, Grant Cardone argues you need what he calls unreasonable conviction. You literally have to be 100% certain that your technical solution is superior. You need to be so absolutely sold on your own technical proposal that you become almost fanatical about its value. Think about it. Stakeholders instantly smell hesitation. If you waver in your own certainty for even a second, your proposal is basically dead on arrival.
It's basically the David versus Goliath strategy. David didn't win because he had a realistic mathematical chance. He won because he was utterly convinced his survival depended on it. He committed to one single outcome. When you walk right into a system design presentation, your survival depends on that exact same total commitment. There is no plan B.
Okay, Section 3, engineering trust through documentation, structural integrity.
To really understand how to sell your architecture, you've got to understand the psychology of your stakeholders. And here's the harsh truth. Their default state is absolute distrust. People naturally doubt verbal promises, mostly because, well, they've been burned before. They've all dealt with vendors or developers who wildly exaggerated system capabilities or promised completely unrealistic launch dates. Because of those past experiences, your verbal assurances of, say, system reliability or low latency, they are never, ever enough.
So, to counteract this innate distrust, you essentially need an immutable audit trail. Here are the rules. First, never just sell with words alone. Second, always use written documentation. Third, leverage third-party benchmark data. Prove it on paper before you ever ask them to trust your voice. And finally, keep that information current, accessible, and totally undeniable.
This really taps into a fundamental psychological reality. People believe what they see, not what they hear. In a rigorous system design interview, just talking about scaling a database is cheap. You have to grab the marker. Whiteboarding a data flow isn't just some standard engineering task. It's actually a profound visual act of persuasion. Show them the architecture diagram. You have to make it real for them.
Which brings us to Section 4, Navigating Disagreements with Grace, the Navigational Logic.
We've all been there, when stakeholders push back and engineers' natural instinct is just pure resistance. We immediately want to pull up the documentation and prove them wrong on the spot, right? But doing that just fuels the fire of disagreement. The much more sophisticated strategy is what Cardone calls the magic of agreement. You actually cool the fire by agreeing with their reality first. The strategy flows like this. Step 1, you agree with the objection. Step 2, you acknowledge their perspective, and then, and only then, Step 3, you redirect their attention to the solution. Agreement is literally the ultimate lubricant for technical negotiation. Think about it. You can never expect someone to agree with your architecture if you are actively disagreeing with them in that exact moment. It all comes down to deploying 3 magic words. You are right. If a stakeholder says something like, "This migration plan seems incredibly risky and expensive," your first response shouldn't be some defensive technical rant. No, your response should be a calm, authoritative, "You are right. It is a massive investment of time and resources." By agreeing, you instantly end that silly argument over whether it's expensive, because yeah, it is, and you build a psychological bridge. From there, you can easily pivot and clearly explain exactly why the return on investment justifies that expense.
And finally, Section 5, the architecture of status, projecting non-neediness.
Author Mark Manson defines non-neediness as the absolute ultimate indicator of high status. It implies a professional who is dependable, completely comfortable in their own strengths and weaknesses, and honestly, just not desperate for approval. Think about being in a severe technical grilling. A low-status response is getting flustered, defensive, and desperate for validation. But a high-status response? It's entirely different. It's calm, it's grounded, it's perfectly comfortable letting the work stand on its own, which signals deep, unshakable comfort with your expertise.
And this physical status actually manifests in very specific ways. Former FBI agent Joe Navarro identifies the steepling gesture as one of the most powerful nonverbal tools utilized by top-tier architects, judges, and doctors to project supreme confidence. It's a physical manifestation of absolute conviction at a total dedication to a point of view. Notice the calm, precise architecture of the hands with these variations. Whether you're seated at a boardroom table defending your system design, or standing up enduring an intense whiteboard grilling, this posture wordlessly communicates precise mastery. It shows you're fully engaged, completely confident, and projecting total non-neediness. So, bringing it all together, the complete behavioral blueprint for selling your technical vision requires 4 unshakable pillars. First, an undeniable internal presence and conviction in your solution. Second, document-driven trust. Always show, never just tell. Third, an agreement-first approach to effortlessly navigate any technical pushback. And finally, the outward projection of high-status non-neediness through your absolute composure. Which leaves us with this final, absolutely critical thought to ponder. Take a hard look at the next system design or proposal you're preparing. Ask yourself honestly, if you wouldn't buy your own architecture, why should they? Cultivate that unreasonable conviction, document it flawlessly, and go sell your vision. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.